nothing worthwhile, the recognized symbol of excellence in crappy podcasting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to All American Wrestling, and a Happy New Year to you all. This is Vince McMahon reporting, and indeed, later on this week, we'll take you back to the matchup involving Alpha and Sika, former World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, squaring off against Tony Garea and Special Delivery Jones. Also this week... Hello, everyone. Welcome to Championship Wrestling here at ringside. This is Vince McMahon. Indeed, we are privileged to have with us as a guest commentator, the one and indeed the only, Andre the Giant. Andre lending his expertise. Andre, welcome to Championship Wrestling.
Thank you, and I'm sorry if I don't do this good, but I'm going to try to do my best.
I'm sure it'll be more than adequate. Scheduled this week, ladies and gentlemen, the magnificent Morocco will be on hand. Also scheduled to join us, the likes of huge giant like Big John Studd will be here. We'll take you back to when the tag team title recently changed hands to Strongbows against Alpha Sika, and we're going to have all kinds of excitement for you. We can guarantee it. We'll be back with the opening match as we continue in just a moment. Welcome, everyone, to the main event. Welcome to the largest television audience in World Wrestling Federation history, and welcome to a sold-out crowd here at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. I'm Vince McMahon, along with, take a look at this, Jesse the Body Ventura, who just flew in from Hollywood.
Comments, McMahon, I don't deal in comments, I deal in facts. And the fact is this, for all these Hoosier losers out here, and for you too, the fact is, Andre the Giant has waited almost 1 year to get his hands on world champion Chuck Hogan. And the fact is, the Giant is going to win, the champ is going down.
Let's cut right to the chase. 7 days ago at the Survivor Series, did you or did you not screw Bret Hart?
Some would say I screwed Bret Hart. Bret Hart would definitely tell you I screwed him. I look at it from a different standpoint. I look at it from the standpoint of the referee did not screw Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels certainly did not screw Bret Hart. Nor did Vince McMahon screw Bret Hart. I truly believe that Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart. You can look in the mirror.
It has been said that anything can happen here in the World Wrestling Federation, but now more than ever, truer words have never been spoken. This is a conscious effort on our part to open the creative envelope, so to speak, in order to entertain you in a more contemporary manner. Even though we call ourselves sports entertainment because of the athleticism involved, the key word in that phrase is entertainment. The WWF extends far beyond the strict confines of sports presentation into the wide open environment of broad-based entertainment. We borrow from such program niches like soap operas, like The Days of Our Lives, or music videos such as those on MTV, daytime talk shows like Jerry Springer and others, cartoons like The King of the Hill on Fox, sitcoms like Seinfeld, and other widely accepted forms of television entertainment. We in the WWF think that you, the audience, are quite frankly tired of having your intelligence insulted. We also think that you're tired of the same old simplistic theory of good guys versus bad guys. Surely the era of the superhero who urge you to say your prayers and take your vitamins is definitely passé. Therefore, we've embarked upon a far more innovative and contemporary creative campaign that is far more invigorating and extemporaneous than ever before. However, due to the live nature of Raw and the War Zone, we encourage some degree of parental discretion as it relates to the younger audience allowed to stay up late. Other WWF programs on USA, such as Saturday Morning Live Wire and Sunday Morning Superstars, where there's a 40% increase in the younger audience, obviously, however, need no such discretion. We are responsible television producers who work hard to bring you this outrageous, wacky, wonderful world known as the WWF. Through some 50 years, the World Wrestling Federation has been an entertainment mainstay here in North America and all over the world. One of the reasons for that longevity is as the times have changed, so have we. I'm happy to say that this new vibrant creative direction has resulted in a huge increase in television viewership, for which we thank USA Network and TSN for allowing us to have the creative freedom, but most especially, we would like to thank you for watching. Raw and the War Zone are definitely the cure for the common show.
Welcome to Friday Night SmackDown! Earlier tonight, my father, Vince McMahon, retired from WWE. This is the company that he created, that he founded. And he wanted to make sure in his retirement that he thanked all of you. He thanked the WWE Universe. You guys you're jumping me. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. And that's all of you out here. That's everybody in the back. That is all of our crew. That's everyone who hangs the rigging. It's everyone who designs all of the graphics. It's even Pat McAfee and I guess Michael Cole. This is the WWE Universe, and we are eternally grateful for all of you. But since Vince had the opportunity to thank us, I think this is the moment that we take to thank him. So now we're going to do it together, right? Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Vince.
Donald Trump,
Then, now, forever, together, no more. Vince McMahon is gone from the WWE. He has been pulled off all internal rosters. The single leading force of the WWE for the past 40 years is gone. Gru and I will discuss the timeline of the Vince McMahon scandal, all other major and minor stories, maybe not all of them, but involving a summer of unrest for World Wrestling Entertainment. Gru and I will dish on pop culture as we delve into another Nothing Worthwhile the week that was. Two annoying Jews giving you maximum value for your podcasting dollars. Andrew Gruthius, more importantly, we need a status update. What is going on with your air conditioning?
Well, it's blowing continuously warmer air.
Oh, you must be so miserable, you poor bastard.
No. It's not that bad yet. It's going to get bad. So, of course, down here, the 1 hour air conditioning people are, a dime a dozen. So they give me a window of 3 to 6, so we had to shift our schedule. But yeah, no, it's just, it's working, just not blowing the right kind of ventilation. So, and that's not good when it's 105 degrees out,
I understand.
Yeah.
This was such a earth-shattering announcement. I had to cancel my family breakfast this morning. I said, Andrew Groos, this needs me.
You shouldn't have done that.
We were going to eat breakfast and watch episode 1 of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Oh yeah, is that out
on Disney Plus? It is out. I've read mixed things, mostly positive. The trailer looked so bad initially. I was like, oh my god, are they doing a half hour like what Mary Tyler Moore sitcom on? But
doesn't it have the Hulk in it?
Yes, Mark Ruffalo, I think he's in the first episode. I think.
Oh, I hate it when they do that.
Well, actually, they only released the first episode, so I know that Moni's boyfriend said he's in the first episode, and he said it was good. So looking forward to it, but I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
All right, so how's everything going out there in Florida?
Everything is fine, except for my air conditioning, but everything is fine. The weather is occasionally scorching, but not that bad. We had our first week of school, and everything went beautifully. It was a nice week back, and yeah, just back in the groove. I have to start getting stuff together. I have to move.
What?
I'm getting. They say it's not an eviction.
What?
I'm not exactly sure. So my apartment, my unit was sold. All right, so where I've been living for the last, I guess, 6-7 years at this point.
Yeah, classic.
Has been sold, and the new owners, they want to gut the place. They want to renovate, and they want to rent it for a good deal higher than what I'm paying. So either way, my lease is up at the end of September anyway. So they're just not renewing my lease. The new landlords are not renewing my lease. So I got to start. I got to find a place and figure all that stuff out.
Ooh, if you can't find a place, mom and dad, or what are you going to do?
I'll find a place. I'm not. It's not. No, I'll find a place. Yeah, no. It's just. I mean,
just in the morning time. Wow, stunning news. Not quite as big as Vince McMahon, but pretty stunning.
Yeah, the world of nothing worthwhile. We're gonna have a new Florida studio.
Absolutely. Wow, exciting. We'll have to speak to management to see if they'll cover all those costs.
Yeah, it depends. It might change county. You never know down in Florida.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, good luck on the apartment search.
Thank you very much. I'm very much not looking forward to it.
Well, we are here on the West Coast in the somewhat great state of Arizona.
The somewhat great state, he says.
Yes. We have the show mascot sleeping on the floor, Braxton Moody, a.k.a. the Road Dog, and Jet Moody, a.k.a. Puppy Shango. I am your host and moderator. Of course, my name, Evan Moody. Gru, I think it's a pretty... I don't know, what are you doing? What are you doing? You changing your car's oil? I don't see you.
No. I just had to plug in... the computer didn't have enough juice, as it were. Had to plug it in.
Got it.
Had to plug it in.
You want to go right to WWE and Vince?
Well, I mean, that's what we've been talking about that constantly, off the air. So we've been sort of chomping at the bit to get on here and talk about it. So, yeah.
All right. Did we open up with Marie's commercial?
Oh no, we did not. Oh, that was recorded exclusively for Van Dammit. We might need her to get back in the studio and refurbish for Nothing Worthwhile.
There goes I better call the attorney. All right, well then, today's Nothing Worthwhile podcast, Vince McMahon Gone, is brought to you by New You Life Center. Spread the love. Follow New You Life Center on Instagram to take advantage of their monthly specials and giveaways. Let's start your journey, whether it's hormone balancing for men or women, laser treatments, medical aesthetics and cosmetic injectables, and medical weight loss programs. New You Life Center wants to assist you with all of your health goals. Check them out at Phoenix, 4515 North 16th Street, Suite 105. I believe Andrew Gruthius is scheduled for a pre-WrestleMania visit. That'll be fun to take him over there.
Yes, in fact, you know I am now booked, so I should make my appointment today. Because with WrestleMania coming to town, they're going to be packed. They're going to be booked. I'm not going to be able to get an appointment.
Well, we're still a couple hours away drive, but that is probably the... You know how like every WrestleMania there's another catchphrase that it's the it'll be like Moody and Groos, the most anticipated WrestleMania of all time. But yeah, you'll have fun.
What was last year? Stupendous.
Yeah, I'm saying for us, like it'll be like we'll have to come up with the catchphrase. Nebulous. Restore your youthfulness with confidence. Life-changing solutions tailored to your goals. That's New You Life Center. Yeah, I met her son and nephew and Moni's boyfriend. We went to watch... I'll take you to this place when you come out here. It's called Cold Beer and Cheeseburgers. You'd love it.
Really?
It's, sports bar. We watched a UFC, 208 million, whatever it was. And great card last night for any of those who are UFC fans. Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, welterweight championship, and Usman dominated pretty much the first 4 rounds. He had about 20 seconds left in the fight, and this guy Edwards, who was losing, did like a spinning round kick, knocked Usman out, and we have a new UFC welterweight champion. And anyway, we usually try to go once a month to watch the UFC fights. I actually think if you sat down and watched it, you'd probably like it, since we're wrestling fans and combat sports. But
I have. Well, here's my question. Okay, and maybe it's a psychological thing, because I really don't get it.
Let me just say this: I don't watch it like I do WWE.
I understand.
I don't read websites. I don't follow. But once, let's say once a month they have a big pay-per-view. To get out with the boys and have a burger and a milkshake, and I like combat sports. But
its popularity, as far as they still show it. They still show them at Diamond Dolls, for God's sake. I mean, or was that the booby trap? I'm not sure which one. But
do me a favor, Gru. Avenue, edit out.
No, but my question is this.
By the way, is there anything better than combat sports and a couple of jigglies right in front of your face?
No, exactly my point. But here's the thing. All right, I love, or I actually used to love, but I still in a way love boxing, and I love pro wrestling for what it is. I would say that UFC is kind of like a mixture of the two. In a way, why you would think that would be like my favorite thing in the world, and yet I'm just not into it. I don't get it.
Well, there is some crossover,
and it's immensely popular.
Yes, we have. The place is usually the restaurant is usually, there's not an empty table when they have the UFC fights.
Yeah.
There's been some crossover. Obviously, we've had UFC guys go to the WWE. I think the more popular guys, if they don't want to get hit too hard anymore, it's a great place for them to go and extend their athletic and entertainment career in the WWE. I think Dana White has taken a lot of things from... I actually think every major sport, including football, has taken a lot from the production of the WWE, specifically in terms of how they... the lights, the camera, the editing, they've taken a lot from the WWE. And I think Dana White is a kind of a similar kind of cat to Vince McMahon. I don't know every single guy. I don't, that's why I go with Anthony. He's a big time fan. He can give me the updates on the fighters. But, it's a lot a lot of value if that's what you want for your pay-per-view dollars, because they have 5 fights on the undercard that's shown on ESPN for free,
right?
And they switch to ESPN Plus, which is the pay-per-view version for the 5-fight pay-per-view. So you usually get 10 fights, which it's a long night if you watch all 10 fights. We usually get there about third or fourth fight into the undercard, so you can get a decent table, and then you watch a couple of 1 or 2 fights on the undercard, then it switches to the pay-per-view, and you get the quote-unquote better fights or more interesting people.
Well, anyway. the ironic thing about me is that I remember the last time I went out to watch one of these fights with some people, and it was on the main event was Brock Lesnar, and I believe Ronda Rousey was on the undercard. So it's just, to me, it's a little bit ironic that it's 2 people who are connected to my true passion, which is the WWE.
Absolutely. I think you'll see more people. There's a guy, Colby Covington. He comes out to Kurt Angle's music. There's a lot of guys.
Is he allowed to do that?
I'm sure he worked out a deal with the he's definitely a WWE fan. He's gone out. So a lot of these guys and girls, I think it could be a way for them to extend their career. But let's go back to that love and passion that Andrew talked about. And actually, if you take a step back about this podcast and our friendship, that's one of the first things Andrew and I bonded over was our love of all things WWE and sports entertainment. And Andrew, when Vince McMahon announced his retirement on Friday, July 22nd, 2022, via Twitter, of all places, kind of unique for an old school guy, and just after the American stock market closed trading for the weekend, it seemed rather abrupt. I believe Vince announced his retirement late on Friday to catch the news cycle off guard, placing it late on Friday when newsrooms are left with a sparse crew might have been a sign for an overt strategy. Andrew, you were away up at camp, a little bit remote, but when you first heard the news, Vince McMahon announcing his retirement, what'd you think?
Well, at this point, with both people like Vince McMahon and just the way the country is at this point, I figured it was just a matter of time. People like him are dropping like flies, the old guard, the guys who still kind of play by those rules. And I think when this thing first came out, I think it was before the summer, he had to step down as CEO. And I guess we'll get to talking about that when
yes.
But it wasn't something like that was just not going to go away. It definitely, I didn't even think about or even read about what you just said as far as the timing of it all. So
I believe it was a clear strategy on his part or the WWE management.
I agree with you. I didn't know that or think about it until you said it. So, and I think I definitely agree. And I can't say I was shocked or surprised or even bummed. I was like, I look at it like, of course, a guy like him is going to go. But he came, he saw, he whipped everybody's ass. He did it all. So my heart did not weep for it. And we've been talking about what was going to happen as far as his exit and how the power was going to fall, for a while now. So it was. So part of me was interested to see the direction that the company would take. So it wasn't something to mourn. I actually agreed with the very well written statement that Stephanie made on, I think, was it SmackDown or Raw? SmackDown.
She went on
SmackDown. It was SmackDown. I agree with everything she said. It was about it's something to be celebrated, putting what he did or may have done or may not have done aside. It's something to be celebrated.
All right, let's move on, and we'll get some further thoughts. I mean, after all, Groove, Vince McMahon has shown, for the most part, a little sign of decline for what might be expected from a 76 or 77-year-old man, because he's the genetic jackhammer. He is the majority shareholder in the company. It's a publicly traded company. The WWE has remained undoubtedly his baby. But yet his fall from grace, as Andrew has briefly mentioned, was so brisk. Like so many disgraced ex-company heads, ex-CEOs, it wasn't the crime per se, but perhaps the cover-up that set the stage for the final chapter in Mr. McMahon's long-running legendary career. And Gru, when the definitive history of professional wrestling is written, perhaps the longest chapter will be dedicated to one person, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Vince is the primary person responsible for what today is still the unquestioned industry leader and a global juggernaut that seems almost too big to fail. For 25 years, Mr. McMahon has made no secret of his occasional evil billionaire leanings. Grew, no matter his personal life, despite multiple scandals, and including the highly publicized steroid trial in the early 90s, Vince McMahon's steady hand and workaholic nature not only brought the WWE back from the proverbial brink more than once, but made it still the highly profitable, well-oiled machine it is today. Until now, Gru, the most troublesome speed bump in Vince's career was his indictment in 1994 by the U.S. District Court in a steroid case. Vince McMahon withstood 6 charges, although the most serious 3 were quickly dropped, and had testimony of 11 of his former wrestlers, including one Hulk Hogan. And supposedly, Vince McMahon was so nervous about going to federal prison that he set Jerry Jarrett, of all people, to run the company in his absence. We were a lot younger back then. Any thoughts or any remembrances of the Vince McMahon steroid trial?
Well, of course I remember it, but in just hearing what you're saying, I'm just thinking to myself, like, my God, the bullets this guy has dodged.
Absolutely.
Like, it's really unbelievable. Yeah, I remember. And, he definitely has some black marks on him. Always has. Always will. But he's never tried to be something that he's not. Or never tried to not be something that he is. He never really pretended to be anything more than just a P.T. Barnum, do whatever it takes to entertain the hell out of the crowd, make the money. Sort of rules don't apply in to an extent. Some lines were definitely crossed, and steroids was absolutely a part of that. We can't look at that and say, "Oh, well, he did it because of this or because of that." No, it was bad and it was wrong.
Well, he was found innocent.
Yeah, he was found innocent of. He was found not guilty of what he had. I'm trying to remember the actual specific charges. It was like he was found.
The doctor for the WWE had openly written scripts for steroids, and I believe the wrestlers on trial that spoke, that they were, perhaps it was an understood rule or pressured, obviously, to look their best, and that involved steroids. But I believe most of the testimony, including Hulk Hogan, was that Vince never overtly stated to a wrestler, "Hey, you need to get on the juice. You need to tighten up.
Right.
You need to look better."
Right. It was understood that he knew what was going on, just didn't turn a blind eye or didn't
right.
Pretended not to know.
Here's an example. You mentioned Diamond Dolls. Like, when you go in the back room, you may not need to say anything, but it's understood.
Yes, that's a great analogy. It's a perfect analogy. It's understood. It's absolutely understood. Yeah, and look, we've never looked at Vince McMahon and said, "Hey, there's a really good, nice guy. There's Mr. Rogers for our generation." No, he's I'm trying to think. Besides the P.T. Barnum, he's like Don King in a way. Like he's just over the top, ruthless in a way. No pun intended. And you can't expect anything but sort of lowest common denominator J.R. Ewing type shit from him. It's like ironic that it's not even a scandal, but the appearances of infidelity, and not much more than that. And that's to me a crime in and of itself.
Well, you just mentioned infidelity. Of course, there was the 1992 allegation of sexual assault from Rita Chatterton, who was the company's first female ref. Vince's future, perhaps as a free man, didn't look good. Prosecutors never filed charges in the Chatterton incident, and McMahon was acquitted, as we said, of all three remaining charges in the steroid case. And Gru, you may have referenced it a little bit earlier, but I'll ask it again. Did it seem that Vince McMahon was almost Teflon, and he was able to bounce back from scandal to scandal and really bad PR? Was Vince McMahon for a time untouchable?
Yes, absolutely, because he refused to acknowledge that he was doing anything other than running a business, and running a business legitimately. You might not like it, you might not approve of it, but what he was doing, and if these things were going on, all right, with the steroids, we know it was, and with the sex scandal, you gotta believe that it probably was. On one hand, you can say yes, he's the owner, the buck stops with him, but on the other hand, for a company that employs, I don't know, at that point, maybe close to 1,000 people, maybe?
Perhaps.
You're not going to know everybody's little story. You're not going to know and be involved in everybody's personal work narrative. And so I think they were pointing the finger at him, I'm not going to say unfairly, but maybe a little too often, for stuff that probably could have been handled in different ways. So while he's no saint, never has been, never claimed to be, he wasn't always the sinner. To be a little poetic there, as you're laughing at me.
I feel there's like a Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel song in some of your narrative right there. I'm not a saint, but I'm not a sinner. Well, Gru, there was bad publicity, as Andrew has mentioned. And back in the 90s, the WWE had to newly implement a drug testing policy, which did drastically change the WWE's landscape in the mid-90s. For several years, Gru, we know that Vince started off as the company's primary television host, which is how he broke into his father's WWF as a young man in the early 1970s. Vince McMahon, in the early 90s, did not want to sully its family-friendly presentation and image. We know that the WWE, for a second time, reset their drug policy, which is now known as the Wellness Program, after the Chris Benoit murders in June of 27. We don't have to go through it, obviously, in too depth, but Gru, do you remember the Benoit scandal and thoughts looking back on it all these years later?
Sure. That was a shocker. And it was fascinating the way, the response to it and how much it changed the wrestling business. And it's sort of...
In what way?
Well, it just started making these companies have to start taking a good long look at the welfare of these wrestlers, I think.
Agreed.
You've heard and seen a lot more of that publicly, that these guys, these are big companies, and publicity is of the utmost importance. And if they are seen as a company that allows its performers to injure themselves without any kind of support, they wouldn't last in this kind of climate. As far as the kind of company they want to be. They might be able to last as a territory, but not as, the big Fortune 500 company that they are. The billion-dollar empire. So
I always think of the Benoit stuff that it really ushered in sort of that John Cena family-friendly. They tried to reset again. I think they got rid of blood after the Benoit scandal. They stopped doing chair shots to the head. I think Vince offered, or WWE offered, the wellness program to ex-wrestlers who had, drug and alcohol issues. So I definitely agree with you, with your comments. What do you think about the issue? And again, we got a lot to cover, but what do you think about the issue that the WWE, and even AEW, or all these, the major promotions, so to speak, on TV, hold the wrestlers as independent contractors and do not provide health insurance? If a wrestler does get injured on the job, like the WWE, I know will take care of them in terms of surgery and whatnot. But what do you think about that issue as an independent contractor and not having medical insurance?
Well, to me, that's loathsome. I think
that's a big one for me.
You have a responsibility, and they're not independent contractors, because if they were, okay, a guy like John Moxley could be John Moxley one week and Dean Ambrose the next week. He could go that way because he's an independent contractor, which means he can go wherever the hell he wants without a problem. So if they're going to be independent contractors, let them be independent contractors, and let's make it really interesting. Let them go to the highest bidder and play that game. But if they're not going to be, and they're going to be contracted to you for a specific amount of time, then part of that contract should absolutely be full benefits, the same way it would be for any company.
So the ironic thing, Gru, is the full-time employees for the WWE that work in the corporate center in Stamford, Connecticut, they get health insurance. The wrestlers who are going through all that grief and physical pain and whatever, athletic event, they don't. Now, let me ask you this.
Is that verified, though?
I've heard that before. I mean, you can look it up on the internet.
Because I have a question.
You could fact check me. My question to you, though, is...
All right, go ahead.
My question is, do you think, could you foresee a day in which the WWE changes that? Because I think them being the leading sports entertainment company, and they are tremendously profitable, and we'll go over the numbers a little bit later. I mean, the wrestlers, the actual roster of wrestlers has, thinned out over the years. And I think, relatively speaking to its worker base, like that you mentioned, it's probably just a small percentage. I don't think it would really hurt their bottom line if they were able to cover their wrestlers with medical insurance. I think the WWE, if that was to happen, they would probably be the first one to do it. That's just my thoughts.
Well, I think at some point they're going to have to, and I think they should, because of who's in charge. I mean, Triple H is now sort of in charge of the whole thing. He's a former wrestler. He, of all people, should know, what it would mean to these wrestlers and their families to be able to have them covered. Now, it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to do it. It would cost the company a fortune, an absolute bloody fortune.
Perhaps.
And the hit would have to come from somewhere. So that but that's the problem with healthcare across the board. So
I'm going to read you their second quarter. I'm not going to read you the entire thing, but their second quarter earnings report came out. They're not hurting for any cash. So I hear you. It would be probably a fantastic amount of money. I would probably say it really wouldn't hurt anybody's, in the big picture, bottom line. It would probably garner them.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep going because this thing is... But I agree with you with that. I think there would have to be a hit, but it wouldn't be substantial enough in any way It might have to come from production, or it might have to come from catering. It would have to come from somewhere, because it would cost a lot of money.
I'm just saying, please do not eliminate the commissions from catering.
You would think by now we'd know what they had.
Yeah, as the 90s, hit, and as American culture, quote-unquote, loosened up, late 90s, McMahon's real-life villainous became an accidental, wholly unexpected attribute in the wake of the Montreal Screwjob. Oddly enough, when Vince kind of embraced this version of himself, it insulated him from criticism of his company's increasingly, raunchy and sometimes offensive product. Soon it even benefited Vince to consistently act like Mr. McMahon, the boorish, chauvinistic jerk he portrayed on television. And an industry grew where kayfabe had only recently become very passé. Blurring those proverbial lines between reality and fiction rendered Vince and Mr. McMahon nearly indistinguishable. Gru, looking back, and I think you may have referenced this earlier, but yes, I'll ask it again. Do you think Vince McMahon got caught up in the Mr. McMahon shtick?
Yeah, I think he did, but I don't think that had anything to do with his quote-unquote downfall, which I don't really call it a downfall. I think he was just kind of like doing like a $1 Million Man, kind of Ric Flair, just living out the gimmick. But I don't think it changed his business, the way he ran the business. But I'll tell you, at the same time, I remember when I really figured out what you just said, and I saw him. I didn't meet him, but I saw him. I went to the premiere of the Scorpion King. Remember the Scorpion King?
Yes.
That was like The Rock's big first headlining movie that he was a part of. So I got invited. I was living in LA at the time, and I got invited to the premiere. It was at Universal Amphitheater, and I remember being right by the red carpet and seeing The Rock come in and everyone fawning over him, and then the McMahon family, all of them, right behind him. And Vince McMahon was strutting and posing and being that guy. He was there. He was going to a movie, but he was out in public, and he was. The Rock was totally breaking kayfabe. The Rock was not doing his normal shtick, but McMahon, and I remember looking at, I was like, wow, he's really exactly what you just said. He's living the gimmick. So yeah, I definitely think he did in a lot of ways.
I agree with you. I think, and when I say, when you say the gimmick, I mean it could be for I'm not like a Bill Gates type as well. I mean, with money and power, it can go to your head, and you just want to consume more and more. So I do believe in some avenue that Vince McMahon perhaps lived the Mr. McMahon gimmick as well. So moving on, the WWE grew in 1999, October 19th, 1999 to be exact, had its initial public offering, its IPO. Now this grew was a major deal because this changed the power structure in the organization forever. The McMahons still retained the majority of shares, i.e. control of the company to continue its financial profitability in the long term, but now they had a board of directors to please. Gru going public made the WWE a lot of money, but it did, to an extent, cede control to the shareholders. Looking back on it now, I don't know if if you would call it a mistake, but was it a mistake for the WWE to go public?
Probably not, because I think most companies are going to go in that direction at this point. But at the same time, personally, I was kind of bummed because, like, that was the McMahons. I got it. I understood why they did it. I just was kind of bummed that they didn't. It was sort of like it belonged to us, and now all of a sudden it was public. That means anybody could touch it. You know. So that's that. But it didn't. The changes weren't tangible. Do you agree with that? At the time,
I agree. I was just thinking when you were going over your background on them going public, you said get it. I was thinking of that. Remember that Super Bowl commercial? Vince McMahon goes, WWE, get it?
I do remember that.
Like Kane falling out of an office window and
yeah.
that kind. So I agree with you, but I think there is something to be said that they going public in a board of directors that I do think the McMahon family, or specifically Vince, maybe even minute or minuscule, but they did cede some control, and I think that had a lot to do with the trying to return to the more family friendly image in the mid 2000s. I think it had a lot to do with Raw going to 3 hours and remaining 3 hours, despite criticism that it was too long. But you had a lot of ad revenue for a 3-hour show. Just things like that. I'm not going to go over every single topic, but I think I agree. It's not like you turned on Raw and went, "Wow, the WWE went public." I see an overt change in Raw. But I think down the line, it did. There were issues that the WWE had to face as a publicly traded company. That's what I'll say to that.
Yeah, I mean, but that would come with anything. But yeah, like you said, we agreed that as far as the entertainment value and the way we were watching, that stuff didn't change. But weren't they at 3 hours well before they went public? Or was that a product of going public?
I don't know if it was a product. I know that they've been criticized, and even we watched it on, which they got rid of that show. It was a good one. I think it was called Bring It to the Table. That they'll never, the quote unquote, this was a couple of years ago, but they will never return Raw to 2 hours because the ad revenue is so great for the 3-hour show. And to me, I get it. Listen, I understand money makes the world go around, but there's also the quality of the product. That might be something I would factor in if I was running the deal. But I don't know exactly when Raw went to 3 hours. I don't know if it was a product of them going public.
Yeah, I feel like it's been like that for a while. But either way, yeah, you're right. That's not changing because it's continuously profitable. So why would they change it?
Understood.
Yeah.
Grew even in 2006. Not too far from where you live, Boca Raton, Florida. Vince was accused of sexual harassment by a tanning salon employee during Royal Rumble weekend.
Oh my!
The accusations again didn't stick. No charges filed. The McMahons still tried to publicly project the image of a faithful couple in a traditional marriage through wife Linda's 2010 and 2012 U.S. Senate campaigns, despite Vince's portrayal on television and shoot interviews with countless wrestlers as a philandering old billionaire. Yeah, we love it. Yeah. Come. Now, Gru, let's get to it. On June 15, 2022, the Wall Street Journal, no doubt a Vince McMahon favorite, first reported that the WWE board was investigating an unreported $3 million payment McMahon had made to a former female employee in an apparent hush pact covering up an extramarital relationship. I think the employee was like a legal secretary who had received a 100% raise from year one of the company to year two. That's certainly a nice benefit. It was hard to say, Gru, whether this was going to be just another momentary hiccup for the CEO, chairman, or something more. Vince announced 2 days later that he would be temporarily stepping down from his official role during the investigation. Of course, fans noted that as long as he maintained control of the company's creative direction and keep his spot in the quote-unquote gorilla position on TV, it remained clear who was truly in control. Gru, you did reference it earlier. Vince steps down from the CEO slot, yet maintains creative control of the product. At that point, was that just window dressing?
Absolutely. There was no, and in fact, I still think he's got some control. Of course it is. You disagree?
Disagree. Yes.
You think he's 100% out?
I'll say with 95% of surety, he's 100% out. And I mean, let me hear your comments, and then if you want, I'll comment on why I disagree. Let me hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, back to when he stepped down as CEO. All right. That's for headlines. That's for sound bites. Okay.
Understood.
Everything revolves around who's controlling the product, and Vince McMahon always controlled the product. We'll get to whether he's controlling it now or not at some point. But back then, yeah, I don't think. I think the announcement made zero internal difference. Maybe
I agree with you. Let me be clear. I agree with you on this point.
Okay.
We could talk about today later or when it comes up. But I agree with you. That's why I'm asking you. It just seems like window dressing. At this point.
Yeah, that's all it was. It absolutely was.
Okay. That night, though, Vince made a triumphant, sort of bizarre, uncomfortable appearance on SmackDown, attempting to appear unbothered by his worsening legal situation, and followed it up a few days later with a similar cameo on Raw. Now, I think SmackDown, he just came out and introduced the show. On Raw, he came out and introduced John Cena. I think it was John Cena's 20th anniversary to it, something like that on Raw. Nonetheless, it was apparent from the first Wall Street Journal report that more was coming, and that perhaps the bottom was indeed falling out on Mr. McMahon. They had a July 8th follow-up revealing that Mr. McMahon's philandering and subsequent legal dubious payments were far more extensive than anybody had realized. I mean, we don't have to go over it verbatim, but did you see the two quick appearances on SmackDown and Raw? And did it feel like it was perhaps Mr. McMahon's last stand on television?
No, I thought it was just a big kind of fuck you to whoever was sort of behind this whole thing. And I thought it was great. Didn't mean anything. Didn't have anything to. No, it didn't have anything to do with the current product. But it was just it was relevant, and it was right up his alley. I
mean, did you expect Vince to go in the ring and go like this? Fuck. Yeah.
That would have been amazing. That would have been incredible.
Then he goes, then now forever together. Please enjoy the show, families, and hit up our merchandise stand. For he
was never going to come out there and do a PSA for Habitat for Humanity. Like that's not Vince McMahon. So no, I had no problem with that. I enjoyed it. As awkward and as strange as it was I thought it was great. But here's the thing. Here's my question.
Go ahead, my friend.
And I got to try to do this without being controversial.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to ask the question backwards.
I feel like I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask the question backwards. If this was a private company, still a private company, would he have stepped down?
I think, as you've mentioned, given the current climate, if it got out, I think that person would have to step down, unless maybe it's just like a family-run operation. But I mean, if you're running, let's say a grocery store or a plumbing business, and it comes out, I think private. Yeah, I agree, it's a little bit different, but the climate is still increasingly harsh. I'll say this: I won't ever talk about morals, because morals are different for each person. But as an ethical view, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for a CEO or a guy running a company, and you can't really factor in for other people's morals or political views, and I think that in part is how Vince McMahon got done in. And I think even private, maybe it's a small company, a couple of people, maybe not, but I think even privately, the heat would be on as well. That's just my opinion.
But you don't think in the end, he stepped down to protect the stock of the company?
Absolutely.
When you take that factor out of it,
I mean, I think if you I think if you took Vince McMahon's name out of it and just said, let's say, Bill Gates or Jerry Jones
or John Laurinaitis.
Fine. Well, John Laurinaitis got fired. But if you talk about like the CEO and it's their baby, whether it's a family-run company or that guy or girl has been in charge for many years, you have a responsibility to your shareholders. And I think, indeed, a responsibility to your family. You're protecting this nest egg that future generations may never really have to quote-unquote work a day in their life. Yeah, I think that was a big factor in Vince. You're gonna, it's not gonna stop the bleeding, but it's gonna put a tourniquet on it, and that's what the sharks are circling. They want to see the head guy or the head girl who's in scandal step down, and that's what they got. And so I think, yes, to some extent, it wasn't Vince perhaps saying, you know what, I'm guilty. It was, I got to protect my baby here, and I got to step down before there's some real serious implications for my company.
Right. All right. I think I agree with you to an extent.
Andy, I hear what you're saying. We're kind of referencing, Vince is this old school guy, J.R. Ewing. I'm not, what.
No, I'm just asking what he did. He's not being accused, like, you know what I mean?
Okay, but if you're asking me, do I think he stepped down in a way to protect his company? Absolutely, yes.
No, but I'm asking what it was that he did.
Are you asking me, was there a crime committed?
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say criminally, no. Is it a terrible look for a CEO to be having affairs with perhaps multiple women in the company? Absolutely is a bad look. And then you're using money, perhaps company. And now it came out that he used private money, but I'll read you some of the things that I have quoted in the research that the WWE has said. But he used money, let's say whether privately or personally, to pay NDAs. Well, NDAs are perfectly legal.
Yeah.
But has the public take a skeptical view to NDAs, over the last couple of years? Absolutely. They're legal. I don't.
Yeah, NDAs they're like the Fifth Amendment now. But
I understand, but I don't perhaps look down on it. But perhaps mainstream media, has. So it's not a good look, and in an increasingly abrasive media landscape. Yeah, not a good look. So, Wall Street Journal journalist group broke the initial investigation, uncovered that over 16 years, Vince McMahon had paid millions to 3 women to buy their silence over allegations of sexual impropriety. On a July edition of Busted Open Radio, the report, Bully Ray, Mark Henry.
Oh, Bully Ray, AEW, WWE, Ronda Rousey.
Up next, Thunder Rosa from AEW.
Larry Dow is the most hated man in wrestling ever.
Yeah. Get rid of the host. Just have Bully Ray and Mark Henry or Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, exactly.
The 2 reporters were named Joe Palozzolo and Ted Mann on Busted Open Radio did say that they elaborated further on the scope of McMahon's dealings. They were quoted as saying $14.6 million total. Vince paid to 4 women, more than half now going to just one former employee, which Ted Mann called a red flag during their investigation, which I think, Gru, is a pretty stunning allegation. Almost $15 million, in which half of that went to just one woman. I don't know what that says about Vince or the woman or both.
Oh, she must have been good.
Very good guy.
Yeah. Look, you're right. Everything you say is right. That's bad.
Yeah.
It's a bad look. If he used company money, that's like, go away and don't ever show your face around here again.
You know what I say?
What?
I say, tickle my tits. Thank you, George Takei. With the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission now interested, it became more obvious that the story was not going to, quote-unquote, just go away. The WWE Guru was required to revise backdated financial statements through 2019. WWE released a backdated financial report in which they actually documented $15 million of unreported expenses. Then, of course, that day finally came, Friday, July 22nd, 2022, the day that came that many thought never would, at 5:05 p.m. Eastern. And as, like I said, coincidentally, 5 minutes after the closure of the New York Stock Exchange for the weekend, Vincent Kennedy McMahon took to Twitter and somewhat uncharacteristically quiet way dropped a tweet that will forever change the wrestling landscape. Quote, "At 77, time for me to retire. Thank you, WWE Universe. Then, now, forever together. Hashtag WWE. Hashtag thankful." And Gru, yeah, I know we've kind of spoke about it earlier. I know he's 77, but did you ever really think he would really retire from WWE?
No, not at all.
No!
Absolutely not.
We're all going to laugh at you.
No! Absolutely not.
It's like we've talked about it for years, but I just never thought that day would come, even at 77.
Me neither. Do you think he actually did that, like, just sitting out by his pool, with his phone in his hand, just fucking around on OnlyFans or something, and then, like, you know what, let me just retire. What the hell do I need to... Why would I need to get up off of this beautiful lawn chair by this beautiful pool and go into that stinking office with all those sweaty, smelly people? The hell with this, I'm done.
I think your comical nature aside, I think this was probably a very thought out, pre-planned, with probably teams of people and PR, with a real clear quote unquote strategy on how they wanted Vince to retire. What I will say is, I feel like the only thing post retirement, I think Vince is going to go away, and it won't surprise me on a personal level if he deteriorates kind of fast, because I think he was a guy who really enjoyed the being 77 and the genetic jackhammer and this, this fast-paced travel all over the country and all over the world, the WWE, and he had his finger really on all facets of this company, and I think having him to sit home in his whatever $1 billion mansion in Connecticut or in Boca Raton, despite all the trappings of wealth, and I think I could see where Vince just declines kind of quick, and I certainly hope he doesn't, but I could see that happening. Gru, anyway, Tuesday, August 16th, the WWE stated that their investigation into Vince McMahon was, quote, substantially complete. The sports entertainment company said it expects to spend approximately $10 million during the remainder of this year related to the McMahon investigation, which I just find absolutely staggering.
That means they must have some bad shit on. Must.
Yep.
Why would they spend that kind of money on something that didn't count?
So the WWE has already verified a $3 million settlement that he agreed to pay a former employee, with an additional $12 million to multiple women to silence allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity. And again, my friend, perhaps we have talked about this, but Gru, when I step back, why am I not surprised that this happened to Vince McMahon?
Why ask why? I mean, we've known who he is for a long time. Excuse me, all these guys, their past catches up with them, every single one of them. So
like a gold dust moment, like
yeah, but I'm not surprised at all. They were talking about this for years, and in this time period, the cancel culture and the way everything is just like nothing. Everybody's fair game for anything that they might have done, as long as they, no matter how long ago they did it, no matter what it was. Everybody is now culpable for stuff that even 5 years ago would not have been. All right, so basically he's busted for solicitation, paying somebody to have sex, prostitution. That's the big crime here, right?
Well, I think it. I'm not saying. I think perhaps he met women and maybe they did have truly amorous feelings for Vince, but he's paying them to keep quiet about it. I think I wouldn't call it prostitution per se, or he's paying them and they're signing an NDA, whether that's a fee for an NDA, but he's really buying their silence about a extramarital affair. I'm not going to go into whether or not it's prostitution or paying women for sex. I think what he's paying for is they're signing this NDA and it's keeping quiet so he can give the illusion that he's, Vince McMahon, happily married man, head of this major corporation. That's my take on it.
Well, when you put it that way, it sounds so negative.
Well, maybe it is.
I know. Yeah, I guess you framed it in such a way that that does make it sound like pretty vile.
I mean, I hope to be a 76 and still banging.
Well, we all do, but
yes.
So God bless him. Although they never really said when all these things happened, did they?
No, no. That I don't know if I have that in my research exactly when.
It's probably when he was in like college.
Vince, it's Evan Moody. When was the last time you achieved? What? Just text me later.
Well, when Trish was sitting on my lap that one time on Raw.
She's supposed to be on the next Monday Night Raw. It's emanating from Canada somewhere.
Really?
And, believe me, I'd like to see what she looks like.
Me too.
I love that picture.
I love that picture we have of both of them.
It's great.
Great stuff.
Those women look stunning. Good for them. WWE also said in his security filings that there was 2 additional payments made by McMahon unrelated to allegations of misconduct, perhaps even like charitable contributions that were not stated. And in an announcement about earnings for the second quarter of 2022 last Tuesday, WWE said based on certain findings in its investigation, they've had to revise previously issued financial statements, which we talked about, for the years ending in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. To me, Gru, a billion-dollar company had to revise 4 years of financial statements. Publicly traded company with shareholders, public meetings. The last 4 years of financial statements have to be revised. I just find that unbelievable.
Well, I find that unbelievable because if you're a billionaire like McMahon is, why would you be stupid enough to use public money to make these hush payments? Doesn't make sense. That $14 million is tip money to a guy like Vince McMahon.
Well, I thought it stated that he used private money, but now the WWE is, revised its financial statement, so that's perhaps a bit murkier.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Well, it doesn't make sense that he would shit where he eats. I mean, that's just really stupid. And he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would do that, because he knows that all that money and all that stuff leaves a paper trail, especially to a guy like him, who everybody is trying to take down, 24/7. So some about this just doesn't make sense.
I would say this, I don't like to shit where I eat, but if I do, I have to wash my hands vigorously with warm water and antibacterial soap.
Well, he didn't really wash his hands very well with this.
I bet you he doesn't at all. He's like, screw you, bacteria and germs. Screw you, COVID. WWE also stated in its security filings that no significant business had been lost as a result of the investigation. However, quote, it is possible that a change in the perception of our business partners could occur as a result of this investigation. McMahon's daughter Stephanie was named interim co-CEO and chairwoman along with Nick Khan last month. They're going to handle the business side of the company. Of course, Paul Triple H Levesque, Stephanie's husband, was named the executive vice president, talent relations, and the head of the creative team that comes up with storylines for the company. Gru, changes are made on the fly. When you heard these 3 names essentially stepping in for Vince McMahon, don't go into it too depth because I'll get your thoughts specifically on Triple H, but when you heard Stephanie McMahon, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, Triple H, they're all kind of going to be slotted in, what was your reaction?
My reaction was that's exactly what they should have. I think those are three people who bring three unique perspectives to the table as far as what's best for the company. Triple H has I think has a finger on the pulse of what the wrestlers and the fans are interested in. I think Stephanie has the promotional side of things, what works there, and I think Nick Khan has a sense of what's going to draw the most money in every facet of the company. So I think it's an interesting team, and in a way, without the Godfather's final yes or no in the way, I think some very interesting things could happen with the company. I am very optimistic about the direction it could take. Does that mean I think Vince was holding it back? I don't want to say that because I think it's.
Don't say too much. Don't. All
right, I won't. No. You know what I'm trying to say here. I approve of the team, absolutely.
Let me tweet that to WWE. Andrew Groothius at Andy Groos. He approves of your.
I approve of the team.
I agree with your take. Nothing more to add.
Nothing worthwhile. Gives it stamp of approval. We notarize it.
No, I agree. I think those three people were the best choices at the time, and I do agree. Nick Khan as really on the business side, whether you like the overall moves or not, he has made the WWE into a very profitable business. Now, the WWE did release a statement about Paul Levesque that perhaps his slotting into that role could have an adverse effect on our ability to create popular characters and creative storylines. I'll get into with Gru our thoughts on WWE creative under Paul Triple H Levesque in a little bit, but according to the WWE's quarter two earnings, their revenue was $328.2 million, a 24% year-over-year increase that can be mostly attributed to higher ticket sales, the company said. WWE raked in a net income of $49 million, up for $29.2 million in the second quarter of 2021. So again, doesn't sound like the WWE is hurting for cash anytime soon. Now, specific to Nothing Worthwhile, Paul Triple H Levesque announced record ticket sales for WrestleMania 39, which is scheduled for April 23 at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California.
We got ours.
Scheduled for April of 2023. We know that WrestleMania is the marquee event for the company. Andrew has mentioned will be there. Over 90,000 tickets were sold within the first 24 hours, more than any event in WWE history, and a 42%, again, 42% increase, again, if you believe the numbers from the WWE, a 42% increase over first day ticket sales for WrestleMania 38. We were there as well at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Gru, if those numbers are indeed true, a staggering increase, 42% increase from the year before, any company or any product would kill for a 42% increase in sales from the year prior. Does that indicate optimism, perhaps, from the WWE universe over the changes occurring?
I think so, and I can attest to the fact that you and I have been doing this for several years. This will be our 6th in a row, 7th if you count the COVID year. We've gone to every single live WrestleMania in the past 7 years, and this year it was virtually almost impossible for us to get tickets. I will say we were very lucky because 5 minutes in, I was having trouble finding anything. We're in the building, which is the best I can say, but fortunately we didn't have to do that much. But we're in the building, and this was a huge, very tough ticket.
So we weren't able to get the Nothing Worthwhile suite that we usually get every year.
No, but we're gonna have our own tent up there. We'll have a Nothing Worthwhile booth. We'll sell our Nothing Worthwhile merch. We'll sell DVDs and CDs of our recordings. We have something very special coming out on A-Track next week that you'll all want to stop by our
yes,
our
it's actually out. It's called Nothing Worthwhile, the Shelter Island sessions.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm still waiting for it's our 6-year jacket or a shirt or something. We should be doing that for like night 2 of WrestleMania.
Yeah, best laid plans. Well, this year we're booked way in advance. We're all set to go, so we actually have some time to plan. So maybe we can. Why not?
So, Gru, as you've mentioned, the biggest change in most fans' minds is Triple H taking over creative for the WWE. What has Triple H stated about this move? He has described this opportunity as massive, which I would absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
He has been engaging with the rest of the creative team since his very first day, with all of it coming down to, quote, the same thing it has been since the beginning, creating characters and putting them in fantastical situations. Levesque pointed out that this creative refresh is a chance for them to both engage with the stars that they have and create new ones. Levesque revealed he wants to create more memories that last a lifetime, similar to the dropping incident at SummerSlam in July, which was the first premium live event led by Triple H, where Brock Lesnar used a tractor to lift the ring containing undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns during their main event encounter. Triple H assumed the position of WWE's head of creative on July 25th. In addition to his responsibilities leading the company's on-screen product, the game will also serve as Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, a position he took over from John Laurinaitis, who had been let go from the WWE, as well with his involvement with some of these damning allegations. Guru, let's focus in on SummerSlam. Again, I know you were away. Did you see SummerSlam? Did you see some of it on YouTube? Triple H's first run premium live event. What'd you think of the first deal with Triple H involved?
I think SummerSlam was really good this year. I really enjoyed it. It was.
And now back to my bar mitzvah.
No. It was. I'm trying to remember, match for match, and I remember that. I remember there not being a weak link on there, and I remember really enjoying it from start to finish. What was now the main event was again Drew versus Brock, the last man standing. I really enjoyed that.
Brock versus Roman.
Brock. I'm sorry. Brock versus Roman, the last man standing. I just love how they keep finding ways to make that feud interesting. I don't know if that put the nail in the coffin, but
Yes, it did. It better have. I don't want to see those guys anymore for a while.
Yeah, I can see that, but I love the match. I really enjoyed it. The card was really good. It was a very well produced pay-per-view, or premium live, whatever they want to call it now. So,
I agree, and it was a tough spot because he was really taking over, let's say, other people's storylines and kind of trying to see them to its to perhaps a logical conclusion or continue them in his own sort of vision. Guru, what are the consensus changes that Triple H has brought to WWE Creative? Well, I'm going to quote an article, BleacherReport.com. Author goes on to say, what is the first change Triple H has brought to WWE Creative? A sense of unpredictability beyond the surprise returns. The unpredictability of the WWE product under Triple H can be attributed to the freshness of it all. New matchups, new stories, a greater emphasis on things that went ignored during the previous regime has had a tone and presentation on WWE television that feels a lot different for the fans. Let's see here. It makes for a more engaged fan base and motivates the wrestlers to give more of themselves that may have while competing against the same opponents each week. Gru, we've seen some big returns since Triple H has taken over. Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky from NXT. Karrion Kross and Scarlett from NXT made a big return on SmackDown in a very, very big way. Dexter Lumis of NXT fame made a big-time run-in on Monday Night Raw. Hit Row with Top Dollar made a big return on Friday Night SmackDown. Rumored to return are perhaps Sasha Banks and Naomi, Johnny Gargano of NXT fame, and probably the biggest name as a rumored return, Bray Wyatt. Gru, has Triple H made the WWE the cool place again to be a pro wrestler?
Not yet, but I hope that's what it's headed. It seems that way, but let's see where it goes. I hope. I mean, very few of those names mean much to me other than Bray Wyatt. Like, you
Come on.
What do you mean?
Come on, stop it. How dare you?
What do you mean?
I was really, I think I'm, I like the one that's that has been a little bit stale to me has been the Bailey faction. I guess they've given him a name. I don't know what it is, but I mean, again, well, listen, I was an NXT guy. I'm excited that Karrion Kross is back. Number one, I think it's a guy that physically could be in the ring with a Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre and look like he can win. Big time guy. He was probably the number one wrestler from TNA Impact that they signed a few years back. An amazing entrance with Scarlett. Dexter Lumis is another guy. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with him. Hit Row was a big time name, kind of a hip hop faction on Friday Night SmackDown. Sasha Banks and Naomi. I mean, I'd love to see them return, especially Sasha Banks. And yes, of course, Bray Wyatt is a huge name. I think that now, to your take on, has WWE become a cool place? And maybe I agree with you on that sense, because I'm not going to rush to judgment. We've seen a small sample size. I've liked what I've seen so far. I'm not going to neither bash the Vince McMahon run creative yet, nor totally embrace the Triple H, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. But early indications are, I like a lot of the changes that have taken place.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see some of the guys who were abruptly, inexplicably removed, like a Bray Wyatt, or even people who signed with AEW, like a Keith Lee, or people like that. I think Vince made a few mistakes.
I agree. I think Triple H will bring some of those names back, but I think he's going to be selective about it. And I think it's people that he'll feel a certain way, or perhaps he had a role in their creative rise in NXT. Now I know that Shawn Michaels has been named like co-executive VP. I think he's going to be officially now running the creative deal with NXT, and I think you're going to see a sort of a merging of NXT 2.0 with the black and yellow. I think you'll see a more balanced NXT. I like the black and gold version under Triple H, and I can't say I didn't like the NXT 2.0. I liked certain aspects about that with Triple H as well.
Yeah, well, they have a lot. They have a lot to work with. So I think that's a good thing.
Speaking of a lot to work with, the author goes on to say, cycling talent in and out to remain fresh. Over the last 2 weeks of WWE programming, we have seen the Alpha Academy, Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, Omos, and Veer, all utilized in different matches and not excessively, keeping them present on shows but not overexposing them. He says this prevents burnout on the audience's part and keeps the talent from being beaten down and sacrificed to bigger stars, so they're not seen as enhancement talent. They go on to say that, Triple H has done a good job cycling in wrestlers, maybe keeping them on television 1 week, off television the next week. Even Dolph Ziggler is back in a big mid-card storyline. With a massive roster, Gru, have you liked the creative's rotation of talent on the shows?
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you said Dolph Ziggler, because his sort of run has been noticed, and you can see Triple H's, handprints all over that. Triple H, uses talent wisely, at least most of the time. So yeah, we're seeing the changes are tangible, as I said before, and I think they're good changes. Change is always good. Evolution is always very good. So, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that Vince McMahon had to step down, but I'm saying that they're making the very best of it, and that's exactly how Vince wants it. And I do think Vince does have a hand in it.
I don't, but I'll give you my reasons why in a little bit.
Yeah.
Two more things. Arthur goes on to say, forethought with creative booking decisions. The author goes on to quote Sean Ross Sapp, who's a big wrestling fan, said, for example, most of creative for the August 12th episode of SmackDown was completed by Thursday afternoon. The result was a show that had matches announced and advertised ahead of time and a more fluid broadcast. Those familiar with Vince McMahon's tendencies was to rip up scripts on the afternoon of the show. There would be chaos on filming days from time to time under Vince. If Triple H and company can keep things that way and deliver television with forethought, storyline consistency will improve. Fans will also know what to expect from shows rather than tuning in sight unseen. Putting those pieces in place will create greater anticipation for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Gru, any thoughts? You like what you've seen so far in terms of what that author has stated, which from Triple H and company?
Yes. What I've seen, I haven't seen much, but what I have seen, I've enjoyed. And I find myself, I usually watch it. I don't usually watch it live. I usually watch it on the replay. But not on Hulu. I watch it like my DVR version, so nothing gets cut out. And, I find myself watching more and forwarding less these days. And I enjoy what they're doing. And I think it seems to me they're keeping the brands completely separate now. There was a lot of crossover, and it was getting...
I don't agree.
Don't agree what?
I don't agree with that.
Which part?
The brands. Like, they had McIntyre was on Raw. The Usos are the unified champions.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe we'll see that under Triple H a little bit more.
I can deal with. I think I do like the unified champions, and I do like them, representing both brands. Now, do I think that the bloodline we can get into another time, but I do like, if they're gonna be separate. There's been a little too much crossover.
The last thing that the author said was repackaging superstars who should have never been changed. Max Dupree becomes LA Knight. Pete Dunne gets actually, it was LA Knight becomes Max Dupree. Pete Dunne gets repackaged as the Rabid Butch. Sometimes they work, Gru, but sometimes they're completely ridiculous. Under Triple H, expect that to change. Pete Dunne has already alluded to that happening across the social media, and most fans have reacted favorably, as they should. Triple H will return performers perhaps to the personas that earned them recognition in the first place, and hopefully this will continue. Gru, let's get rid of all these silly gimmicks under Vince McMahon.
Well, hey, if they think that that's going to increase the quality of the product, why not? If it's not working, let it not, you fix it. Vince McMahon, God bless him, was always the guy who said, they're not going to tell me how, if it's going to work, I'll make it work. He was very stubborn that way. And I think Triple H will probably, hopefully kind of take a step down from that and let it be more of a team aspect. At least that's from what you're saying and from what I'm seeing so far. That's what it seems like it's going to be.
Yeah, I think though that he's going to. He hasn't changed every single person, but for example, Karrion Kross, he had a very straightforward gimmick in NXT, just a big powerhouse with the hot girlfriend, the hot wife intro, and then he went up to the main roster and they gave him kind of like a demolition, I don't know what the hell, sadomasochistic, hood and leather chaps, and it just, and again, I'm a guy who said Vince McMahon has had a lot more hits than misses, but it just was kind of silly. I think in this day and age, I think Triple H is going to return wrestlers to their original gimmicks for the most part that have worked in the past, and maybe not these broad sort of entertainment-y gimmicks that Vince kind of liked or favorited to, if that makes sense.
Well, what you're saying is maybe it'll get back to more of a wrestling company.
Yeah, like they've gotten rid of all those banned words from what I've read. Like, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee could say pro wrestling. They could say belts. They could say hospital, which I think is awesome. Like, enough already. Like, I get maybe 1 or 2 words, but they had like something like 40 words they couldn't say on a broadcast. Yeah. I mean, screw you, Stone Cold. Grew, a couple of final things. At that Tuesday morning earnings report, Stephanie McMahon celebrated the improved viewership for the past quarter's premium live events, as well as improved viewership for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Nick Khan also brought up upcoming television right renewals for both Raw and SmackDown, which are currently partnered, as you know, with NBC Universal and Fox, respectively. Nick Khan claimed that a group of potential bidders for the 2 shows has gotten even more crowded since the last round of negotiations, and once again brought up an interesting name, Netflix, as a potential bidder for WWE programming. God. Quote Nick Khan, on Netflix, we've been saying on these calls for many months that we believe Netflix is looking to enter the live space. We got confirmation of that this past quarter when Netflix made a bid for the rights to NASCAR Formula One. We believe Netflix's appetite for live programming will only increase after the introduction of their ad tier. Gru, could you see a day in which Netflix could land either Raw, SmackDown, or both?
Absolutely. I mean, look how spread out they are right now. We talked about it several episodes ago, how...
Really?
We talked about how they're outsourcing everything, and... they got deals with, they got Fox, they got USA, they got A&E, they got the Peacock. So of course they seem to be trying to strike deals with every major, digital media company that exists. So I absolutely could see it. Yeah.
You said Peacock.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I absolutely can as well. I think nothing's off the table in terms of television rights for WWE programming, and perhaps even a WWE hub on another streaming service. All right, Drew, as we begin to wind down our thoughts, let me get your thoughts real quick on WWE is hosting its next premium live event in Europe. It's called Clash of the Castle in Cardiff, Wales. The premium live event will go down, I believe, I think in 2 weeks, Saturday, September 3rd. I got 4 confirmed matches so far. Real quick, you want to give me predictions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Singles match, your boy Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins. Who do you like and why?
I think I like Riddle in that one, because I think Rollins is being used. His current role is enhancement talent, but to the nth degree. And I think Riddle. I think I want to put Riddle to the top, unless that ship has sailed.
I don't think the ship has sailed. I'm gonna go with Rollins. He's had a couple of big time losses on premium live events.
That's true.
The whole Cody Rhodes troika. I think Riddle. I don't think the ship has sailed, but I think Riddle and Theory will be a little bit cooled off under the Triple H regime. That's just my take on it. I've not read anything. And I don't think Matt Riddle, the ship has sailed. I think he's a very talented guy. But I'll go with Seth Rollins on that one.
Okay.
6 women tag team match. Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka versus Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. The women, 6-woman tag. Any thoughts? Who do you like?
I'll go with the Alexa Bliss team. That's an Asuka. Yeah, I from the last few things that I've seen, they seem to be pushing Asuka. And
I'm going to go the other way, actually. I'm going to go with the new I don't think they're going to let the new faction lose right off the bat. It'll probably be some kind of scrum. I'm curious to see how Bayley looks in the ring. She had a pretty, I think, devastating shoulder injury. But when she left, she was really like the workhorse of the women's division. And I like Dakota Kai, her character, but I think Io Sky is actually perhaps the best performer in that faction. She's a real good high flyer. And I'm just down on Alexa Bliss. I don't know what love Asuka, although I don't like this whole happy Asuka. I like her to return to the more like NXT killer, like the one that wrestled Charlotte Flair, be undefeated. Like I like to see her be more that kind of kabuki killer kind of thing. I do love Bianca Belair. I think she's firmly ensconced in the top for now. All right, so we got two different picks here. 2 more matches confirmed. WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. The champ Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler. Women's Championship.
Liv Morgan. She's on a roll right now. I don't think they're going to kill her momentum. I think Liv Morgan's going to win.
Yeah, I think she'll win somehow get by the killer Shayna Baszler. I just don't know if Shayna Baszler, again, legit MMA shoot fighter. I just don't know if they see, including Triple H, championship material with her. Liv Morgan, beautiful girl, but she's nowhere near the fighter that Shayna Baszler is. And I think they may angle towards a Ronda Rousey faction on Friday Night SmackDown, and perhaps Shayna Baszler. They're friends from the MMA world. Or perhaps Baszler versus Ronda, but I think somehow Shayna's going to get linked up with Ronda in some way moving forward. And of course, the big one for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, the champ Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Gru, who do you like and why?
Roman Reigns, because he's not losing at. They're not going to go that unpredictable yet. He's not losing. The streak is not being broken at a non-WrestleMania event.
Interesting, your call. Interesting.
That's literally the only reason why I'm going with Roman Reigns.
I agree with everything you said. Yet, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Drew McIntyre because he's a European guy. I think he's a Wales guy. He's in Cardiff, Wales. I think they're going to go for I'm all surmising here. I think they're going to go for like that Davey Boy Smith SummerSlam pop where Drew McIntyre. I think, and I don't like it because I agree with you. I want Roman. I've said it before on the podcast. I want them to go with this ridiculously long heel champ run, but I think if they're indeed going to go rock Roman, I don't think they want the belt on Roman for this. And I think I don't know. I don't know. I think perhaps maybe Theory with the Money in the Bank. I think they want to split the belts. I'm surmising here. I love Roman Reigns, and I actually agree with you logically. But I think that if they go rock Roman, which I think they're going to go for LA, I think they're going to take the belt off Roman. I don't think that match needs a championship title. That's just my take on it, and I can't believe I'm saying that. The only one we had the same was Liv Morgan. So
yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that if going rock Roman, it's got to be for the title, and of course Roman wins because that match is supposed to be literally passing the torch. That's supposed to be kind of Rock's, big final bow, passing it off to his cousin or nephew, whatever he is. So, the question is, if that's the case, who's the guy? They have built Roman up. Roman has had help. He did not do this by himself. They've built Roman up all this way. Who do they have?
Okay, forgetting. Let's say this premium live event. You don't think if they put the belt on a Drew McIntyre, the guy's been champ before. I'm not saying he's going to do Roman Reigns. You don't think that's a credible guy to hold the champ? Forgetting Roman Reigns, this amazing one. You don't think, let's just say, he won the championship tomorrow. You don't think that that's somewhat of a credible guy to put a title on? Like, I do. He's nowhere near Roman Reigns, but I wouldn't kill a Drew McIntyre championship.
No, but it doesn't. It's like, where do you go with it?
I think you try to build him. You've already got Roman at that level. He's like the undisputed star of WWE programming. I think if you took the belt off him and you tried to split it back to a Raw and SmackDown championship, then you got two other guys that you're now trying to elevate. You could really sort of fill out a WrestleMania card, with three sort of, big time main event matches, and again, I'm just posturing,
I think
maybe a Randy Orton on Raw or an Edge, and then you got a McIntyre on SmackDown. Just a thought.
Well, I think everybody's keeping it warm for Cody Rhodes to take the title.
Good point. Or Cody Rhodes on Raw. But
yeah.
All right, good point. All right, Gru. Listen, I think I'm all Vince McMahon out. I'm no longer the genetic jackhammer. Before we move on to the week that was, any final summation on this whole Vince McMahon scandal, WWE? Any final thoughts before we put it to rest, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't look at this as a tragedy. I look at this as sort of serendipitous. A lot of people have been calling for him to step aside for a while anyway. It's unfortunate that it would happen the way it did. And it's unfortunate that, look, it's interesting. These guys, they have so much money. They just think they could buy everything, and they do for a long time. Think about it. Let's say he's been behaving like this for 30, 40 years. Okay? Now he's almost 80 years old. He's got maybe 15 years left in the bank. Would you trade it? I don't think so.
Oh, that's a great point.
I don't think so.
If you said like a typical guy, like me, I wouldn't trade it. But a guy like Vince, because I think, as I said earlier, I think personally, health-wise, mental health-wise, he will be affected by this. Like, I just see him now as a guy that was so consumed by this business, so consumed by his baby, that now that he's gone from it, and I believe he is gone, and I'll tell you why. I've read he's been removed officially off all internal rosters. He's been removed off all internal sort of documents pertaining to the active production element of WWE television. It doesn't mean he still doesn't have an office. He doesn't go in. The changes that, bringing in guys and girls that Vince personally probably oversaw that were cut from the company, and Triple H has brought them back, just indicates to me that, again, I said I'll give you a 95% guarantee that he's 100% gone. I'm not saying he doesn't, speak to Stephanie or Triple H and provide maybe, but I'm sure they're under no auspices to listen to his advice. I really think Vince McMahon is for the most part gone, and I think I could just see him sitting in that, like you said, in that by the pool, just bored out of his mind and almost like a sad creature. I really do. That's kind of how I visualize him right now. A lot of people, like my dad, had a tough time at retirement, and I think Vince is going to be even worse because it was all consuming for him. Gru, this guy was 24/7.
I agree.
Traveling all over.
That's why I think he's assuming a role kind of like The Godfather. After The Godfather retired, he was like the consigliere. He was the advisor. He had nothing. He made no decisions. He was just there for counsel, and he was a valuable counsel. So I feel like that's the role he's going to play. He'll be the one to advise. He'll have no power.
Okay.
Other than his children and children-in-law, feeling some sense of loyalty to him.
All right. Well, I'll agree with. I don't know about the consigliere, but I do agree. I don't think he has really any more overt power in World Wrestling Entertainment, and I think it's Nick Khan, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon's baby to run now, and every change is an opportunity. And so, yes, I am cautiously optimistic about the changes. I'm not going to go all in yet because it's still early, but the initial signs are better than before. So
agreed.
Agreed. All right, Gru, you want to cue it up?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't see you, but tell me when I'm. Can we do? All right, I'll just say it. Let's go to Nothing Worthwhile, the week that was.
That was very good. All right, go ahead. Wait. I have a question for you.
Thank you, Gru. Nothing Worthwhile, the week that was is brought to you by New Life Center. No goal is too big. No journey is too far. No waistline is too big.
Hey.
Check out all their hormone balancing programs for men and women at www.newyoulifecenters.com. NUYOU lifecenters.com. I got the wrong phone number on my notes, so just take 2 red cups, put a piece of anyway. Tell them that Moody and Groos sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, New Life Center. Gru, this wasn't part of my notes, but as we prepared for this morning, we did talk about the announcement of one Ben Stern, Howard Stern's father. Howard Stern announced his father's death via a small article in Dan's papers. Ben Stern, 99 years old, a major, I could say it's a fair thing to say he was a pretty major character on Howard's radio show, especially in the late 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Andrew Gruthius, Ben Stern, dead at the age of 99. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you, smoking kills. Watch those cigarettes. No, I'm kidding.
Is he a smoker?
No, I don't know. It's just that it's that old Norm Macdonald joke. He when he was on Saturday Night Live, he was Weekend Update. He was announcing the death of George Burns. So he's like, George Burns, legendary comedian George Burns, died today at the ripe old age of 100 years old. And let that be a lesson to you kids. Smoking kills. One of my favorite jokes ever. But yeah, this is a major thing to get people like us. I've met Stern, and it was. You would think that it would have been more of a headline, but at the same time, you can't knock Howard, for letting the information out like he did. It's his father, it's his loss, not ours, and he has the right to handle it any way that he wants. I hope that he would discuss it in more detail. He's someone who we came to know and be very familiar with over the years, and I think as something, it's as if a show character passed away and deserves that kind of attention. And I think we'll get it. I think we'll hear a good amount of talk on it, and I'm curious to hear Howard's response. I would hope that he would. I don't know how to say this. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I would hope that he'd be willing to share it with us as his fan base.
I think he will. I hear everything with what you said, and it's not my place to criticize, but I'm sorry, but I find the placement of the announcement of Ben Stern's death in Dan's Papers, which is a Hamptons local artsy newspaper, to be indicative of this Howard Stern in 2022. And again, people can criticize me and say my criticism is off base, but I think Ben Stern deserved a little better. And again, I agree with you. It's not my place to say, but I thought it was very curious. It's an article about his artwork that really nobody gives a shit about. And by the way, my 99-year-old dad passed away. I think that's telling of Howard today, and that's pretty much all I'll say about it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I just, it's hard to, like I said, he lost his father, and it's tough to criticize, but at the same time, there's nothing that you said that's not correct. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Gru, on Monday, I saw a picture of the hottest 99-year-old in the world.
Wow. Ray Stern?
Do you know? No, but do you know who that is?
Who? Wait. Let me guess. Is it somebody famous?
Well, I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to share my screen in a bit. Sean Connery, 93-year-old widow.
Oh.
Micheline Roquebrune. She was a Bond girl in real life, and she married Sean Connery in 1975.
Uh-huh.
And she was pictured on a glamorous yacht along her social influencer granddaughter Saskia. And it's pretty safe to say that the stunning good looks run in the family. And I'm going to show you this picture. Now,
right.
You're going to see some flaps and some folds of skin. Okay? Granted.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
I'm used to it.
If let's say my wife looked this good at 93, do you see my screen by any chance?
I see her. Oh! Wait, who's the tall one?
That's the grand...
That's Connery's daughter?
That's Connery's granddaughter.
That's Connery's granddaughter. All right, you'll forgive me if I'm looking at her more than I'm looking at the grandmother. But yes, for a grandmother to be able to pull off a two-piece like that...
That's 93.
Yes, that's impressive. But how old's her... Oh! That's a little... They're like... It looks like they're about to go at it. What's this?
Is this Eric Bischoff, HLA, Hot Lesbian in Action?
Do we know how old that girl is?
I think she's 21 or 22.
All right, thank God.
And the grandmother is
93.
93.
Well, you take Sean Connery and put him with that woman, and that tall one there is what you get. So there you go. I'm impressed.
Yeah, me too.
Good work, Sir Sean. Well played.
Yeah, a 93-year-old hottie.
Yeah.
Gru, do you eat breakfast? Are you a breakfast guy?
Yeah. Sometimes 3 times a day.
Come on, work with me a little bit. I'm like Robin in the news. I mean, come on.
Of course I am. You know that. You've been to Denny's with me. You know that.
That is true. Like every WrestleMania, we end up at like Denny's at like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, come on, man.
Actually, or McDonald's where we get Egg McMuffins.
There you go. Moon's over my hammy. Come on.
That's right. Well, Gru, I have a news item for you. Legendary rapper Snoop Dogg is releasing a new breakfast cereal called Snoop Loops, which is essentially a mixture of Fruit Loops and marshmallows. The multi-grain product, of course, it's very important, Gru, that it's multi-grain.
Multi-grain,
has to be healthy.
Healthy.
Will be released through Snoop Dogg's brand Brodus Foods, which already has breakfast items such as oatmeal and pancakes mix, through its Mama Snoops line. Wow, Mama Snoops line.
Mama Snoops.
Snoop Loops doesn't have a designated release date yet, but it will be, quote, the best tasting cereal in the game, said fellow rapper Master P on Instagram. Grew, according to the Snoop Loops website, customers who buy the rapper's new boxed breakfast item will be contributing to charities such as Door of Hope. That's good. Snoop Dogg also sells products besides cereal such as wine and weed. Snoop recently split screen time with Jamie Foxx in Netflix's new vampire flick, Day Shift, which, as expected, was savaged by critics. Gru, when are you going to Publix to buy your first box of Snoop Loops?
Well, I thought we could only get it through, like, his website. I'll order a case of that stuff.
Oh, hey, well, yeah. I mean, I just saw that. And I
or I can just get Fruit Loops with marshmallows because they have that.
Yes, that might be the way to go.
But
hold on, let me.
Snoop Loops gives to charity. It is good to give, and I want to feel good at the end of the day. So I might. If I think the box is nice, I'll get it.
Yeah, I heard after you're done, you could smoke the box and get a contact.
Well, there you go. I'm sold.
There you go. It's a hemp lace.
You got to order it from Colorado?
Yes, yeah. It's the Brodus, the Mama Snoop line. All right, Gru, sad news. On Wednesday, Ellen DeGeneres honored former girlfriend Anne Heche after the actress died last Friday at the age of 53. Anne Heche, Gru, you may be aware, died after suffering burns and a severe brain injury when she crashed her car into a Los Angeles home on August 5th. Apparently, perhaps alcohol and drugs were involved. Ellen DeGeneres dated Anne Heche from 1997 to 2000. The Ellen Show host shared a tribute to her late ex on Friday, shortly after the news of Anne Heche's death was confirmed. Quote, "This is a sad day. I'm sending Anne's children, family, and friends all of my love," DeGeneres tweeted. DeGeneres previously shared that she and Heche had not been in contact before the actress's crash. When a photographer asked DeGeneres on Wednesday, which was August 10th, if she had spoken prior to Anne Heche, she replied, quote, "We're not in touch with each other, so I wouldn't know." The 6-day, 7-night star suffered a severe anoxic brain injury and, as expected, was not expected to survive her injuries from the crash. Her family and friends stated to CNN last Friday. They shared that Anne Heche was in a coma at the time and in critical condition, but they were keeping her on life support in hopes of donating her viable organs. Sad story. Again, perhaps alcohol and drugs were involved. Anne Heche grew dead at the age of 53.
There was something so weird about that whole thing. It's like it was almost like watching somebody die on live television. She had a crash, then she left the crash, then she had another crash, then she was in a fire, then she was pulled from the fire, but she was fighting the EMTs, and the next thing you know, she's on life support. And yeah, the whole thing was just like really, really odd. Of course, tragic. Thank God nobody else was hurt. But yeah, Ellen DeGeneres, right. She's shit. She was. I saw a video of her, the one that you quoted, the day before, and she was just walking, in the paparazzi was like asking her. She was like, I don't know. She was like, hope she's okay. Like that was her response. Now I understand people have a certain attitude towards the paparazzi. I get that, but Ellen couldn't have been colder on that one. Like knowing that she was like at death's door. But either way, the whole thing just sucks. But
yeah, I was a fan. I like some of the stuff Anne Heche did. I am not a fan. Apparently, alcohol for sure was involved, and that's she crashed into someone's house, and luckily that person was not injured, but did obviously a lot of damage. So sad, and it's so quick, it's like 53 gone. Yeah, just like that. So a sad story indeed. Gru, Last Thursday was the scene from
No, just kidding.
Grew, a naughty trio swiped more than $58,000 worth of sex toys from a Texas shop, including the world's most extravagant Swarovski crystal-encrusted vibrator.
You have a picture of this?
Hold on. I do.
Let's see. Come on.
Okay, hang on.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Hold on. Here we go. Share. Come on.
You go from Anne Hayes dying to $500,000 for whoa. That's like a chia pet.
It looks like a microphone.
Yeah, it looks like a lightsaber coupled with it's got like stuff growing out of it.
Yeah, it looks like almost one of those body massagers, but
yeah, shit.
It's a Swarovski crystal encrusted vibrator. The heist was captured on camera at the Sexology Institute in San Antonio, which I believe isn't that the location for the 2023 Royal Rumble?
Yes, and we already have our tickets.
Surveillance video caught the creeps breaking through the front door, filling the bag with sex toys, lubricants, and lingerie before bolting in a truck. That vibrator is packing some major heat. The diamond encrusted sex toy was valued at $10,000 and was a favorite among customers who took pictures with it. Gru, when's the last time you took a selfie with a diamond encrusted dildo? Was that 2 weeks ago?
It's on my bucket list. It's on my bucket list. So if we can go to that Royal Rumble, we can hit that. Yeah. We can hit that up.
To self cancel social media. The only items, Gru, that were left behind were books and, listen to this, LGBTQ merchandise. How dare you! Diversity in our stolen section.
Yeah, what the hell?
The store was supposed to close its brick and mortar and online shops in order to restock. Donations helped the store to reopen its location in San Antonio's King William neighborhood. Wow, nothing like charity helping a sex shop reopen again. The thieves wore gloves and masks, so there were no clear identifiers, said the Sexology Institute in a post on Instagram. The truck seems to be a 2006 Black Prime Chevy Silverado. If you all recognize these men, the truck, or see any of our stolen items on Facebook Marketplace or in local flea markets, please let us know. Grooves. Gru, thieves are now targeting luxury sex toys.
Well, at least they're stealing something worth something. That's all I can say about that. I can't argue, like people have needs. you gotta. Some guys need drugs. Some guys need dildos. What are you gonna do?
This is true. Gru, before we wrap it up and say goodbye, give us one thing you're watching this week.
Yeah, actually, I'm sort of watching two things. The one thing, I watched the Black Phone, the one that you recommended last week. I really, really liked it.
I'm glad to hear that.
It was nice and creepy. Really, really enjoyed it. Did not see a lot of the twists and turns coming. One thing I am watching this week, I'm watching the movie where Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage. The unbearable weight of massive talent. I'm about halfway through it. Really, really funny. Really, kind of like a Being John Malkovich or like that kind of thing. But Nicolas Cage is great. Just plays a version of himself that's just so much fun. I'm watching that, and I am watching the WWE specials on A&E are really, really good.
They're awesome. I'm watching them too. I wasn't gonna, I didn't want to put them on this, but yes, we've said already that WWE's production is it's unbelievable.
But this series, like the Rivals, the Smack Talk, and the and the even the hidden treasures and the legend. Just like they got a nice little series going on there, which are they're all connected. You know, like they do the legends, then they do the rivalries, and they do, you know, like it's just they got a real good thing going with A&E. I'm really enjoying everything they're doing, so I'm watching that as well.
All right, thank you, Andrew. One thing I'm watching this week. This was a light kind of television week, actually, but I did catch Vanishing Act, which is a mini-series on Hulu about Melissa Caddick, who's an Australian investor who ran a big-time Ponzi scheme and got caught up with the Australian mob and defrauded, just like Bernie Madoff, defrauded literally billions of dollars and disappeared as the Australian Securities and Exchange Commission was coming in to arrest her, and then they found her severed foot washed up on a Australian beach a couple of weeks later. And Hulu's been doing these real life these real life crime deals, and it covers the whole thing, and then perhaps what happened. It goes into more, more drama when they surmise what happened in terms of, did she really disappear? Did she cut off her foot? You know, what happened with her afterwards? So it's really well done. Vanishing Act on Hulu.
Well, I took your suggestion last week, and I was not let down. So I guess I got to do the same this week. Yeah, where is that Nicolas Cage? Where is that Nicolas Cage movie? I bought it, but not on Vudu. I bought it on Apple, like my iTunes thing. So, but you could probably rent it. Okay, but it's good. It's fun. I will perhaps check it out. All right, Andrew. For our next Nothing Worthwhile podcast, we'll be returning to the Van Damme universe, but specifically, we will be finishing up the last of our 80s cheese pick'em. As you remember, last week, Andrew selected Over the Top, the Sly Stallone arm wrestling drama that made for some good debates. And next week, we'll go to my selection, which is Youngblood, the 1986 Rob Lowe, Cynthia Gibb, Patrick Swayze hockey sex threesome video movie. And Youngblood winning wasn't everything, proving himself was. Gru will tackle next week, 1986, Youngblood. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so psyched to start talking about the what year was it? 1985, 84? 86. 86. The 1986 Cynthia Gibb star Youngblood. Co-starring Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze. Yeah, right. But yes, I'm very excited about talking about Youngblood next week. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see Cynthia Gibb at the height of her quote-unquote powers. Yes, her two big powers. Yeah. Powers of pain. All right, Drew. This was a good one. I'm looking forward to listening to this as I leash up the doggies and take them for their late morning walk. Why don't you take us out of here? Yes, as I sit in the sweltering heat waiting for the AC repair people to come, I am looking forward to doing Youngblood next week. Back to the last of the Action Heroes podcast network for a week to talk about Youngblood. It's been a pleasure to be with you, Evan Moody, as always. Next week, back to Last of the Action Heroes. This is Nothing Worthwhile. Saying, what do we usually say here? Rip 'em. Oh yeah, well, it's been so long I forgot. So 1, 2, 3, rip 'em. You're fired. Whack whack. Bye, Vince.